I want to pull up this tweet from Matt Taibbi. It's tweet number 8 in the Twitter Files expose. He says, by 2020, requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write to another, more to review from the Biden team. The reply would come back, handled. Libs of TikTok did the digging and found that these accounts that were listed by the Biden administration as needing to be banned were in fact suspended. More so, Andrew Kerr says, I've pulled web archives of 3 of these tweets. All 3 are homemade Hunter Biden porn and Hunter Biden pics pulled from his laptop. These tweets don't contain any info on Hunter Biden's business dealings, just porn. Can't immediately find archives of the other 2 tweets. The Biden administration was embarrassed about a family member unrelated to the campaign, as far as I know, and Twitter obliged in removing negative information. Wow. This is, here's the best part. October 24th, 2020. Within a couple weeks of the election, the Biden administration was in contact with Twitter to remove damaging information, images, etc.
It goes to show that the people in the middle we were just talking about, what chance do they have to know the truth ever about anything? When you really think about it, I understand everyone here is going to do digging and things, and it's not going to be a problem for the people in this room. But the normal person, wife, husband, kids, goes to school, maybe has a job, maybe 2 jobs. How do you ever find the truth if the only time you consume the news is maybe you sit down at night and you turn on NBC or ABC for 15 minutes? And maybe they're a little biased, but I'm catching headlines. How do you explain to that person that every single thing you were told on the television set is a lie? How do you explain to that person that the Biden family is actually a criminal network? By all appearances, make it look like a criminal network when you look at Tony Bobulinski and others. And they'll never find out, even on Twitter, because like you just pointed out, anything damaging about this family gets axed right away. I feel bad for so many normal Americans who are obsessed politicos like us, because you live in a world of make-believe and you don't even know it. You have no idea.
And 7-8 years of it. So they say, do you know, what is it? The ship of Theseus? Was that the old story?
I went to community college.
It's like if you have a boat and you replace a part of it, is it still the same boat? What if you dismantle the whole boat and then slowly replace it?
Yeah.
That's the ship of Theseus.
So then you reconstruct the other parts and now you have 2 ships. Which one's the real ship? It's an interesting concept. I totally just lost my train of thought.
I think after 9, there's 10 that I think is also worth noting and putting up there, which I think is worth discussing, because I do see Washington, D.C., sort of like Lord of the Rings, and power that political parties wield against each other is that ring that all the parties refuse to throw away but want more of that power and authority. But number 10 reads, I don't know if you want to read it, Tim, or if I should.
You read it.
It says, by Matt Taibbi, both parties had access to these tools. For instance, in 2020, requests from both the Trump White House and Biden campaign were received and honored. However, 11 goes on and then explains how it was mainly Democrats using this system. But in fact, the Trump administration did use it as well, which makes you wonder who did it first and what kind of Pandora box was open from here.
Except I think your framing is incorrect. The point he made in 11 is that because most of the people who work at Twitter are leaning towards the Democrat Party, they are the ones who were that was the bias. So when we hear that Trump had the ability to flag tweets to his campaign, it's kind of like, yes, of course. Conservatives are on Twitter, liberals are on Twitter, and when conservatives complain, they get told shut up. And when liberals complain, they say, okay, we'll take care of business. That's the political bias that is being proven beyond a doubt. Confirmation 100%. That's exactly what they're being accused of.
Yeah, obviously, the Democrats had more of an overwhelming advantage on big tech social media, mainly because of the connections there. But also, a lot of these big tech companies understand that the Democrats are the party that is going to allow them to do whatever they want to do and not regulate them or not even put them in any kind of check or any kind of line when it comes to accountability and transparency here. But it does read that the Trump administration, that the Trump White House did do this, did use these tools, and they were honored, which I think is worth noting if they were the first ones, because if they were, they opened the Pandora box, which deserves to be criticized in my opinion.
Perhaps, but just to point out, the ability to report someone for a tweet is not remarkable to me. The fact that Twitter is biased and because of their bias catered to Democrats is the confirmation I think we were looking for.
I think to kind of piggyback off your point a little bit on that, Luke, is you say it's because, they're biased and things like that, and all that stuff is obviously true. But if I can compliment Democrats actually here, I think people at big tech and people in other companies, other industries understand full well when the Democrats will come after them if they prove themselves to be the enemy of the Democratic Party. Democrats have proven that time and time and time again. Look what they're doing with the oil industry right now. The president of the United States of America feels totally comfortable going on social media and saying, we're about to raise your taxes if you don't pump more oil. Okay, that's an impeachable offense right there. You're the president of the United States of America. You're not the dictator. You can't do that. But Democrats will follow through on those. Whereas you have the low T GOP, they would never choose to punish their enemies in corporate America. If you even have one that attempts to do so, like there have been some attempts in Florida to do so, you'll have half the right immediately come out and say, that's not who we are. Wait, guys, that's not who we are. Democrats would never say that's not who we are. So it only makes sense, frankly, if you're in corporate America, to serve the Democrats, because they're going to punish you if you don't. And the losers in the Republican Party won't ever do anything. That's not who we are.
Where DeSantis also is getting a lot of attention because of his actions against Disney. He also pulled the state out of the BlackRock ESG social credit score system as well a couple days ago, which I think is worth noting as well. So I do see his popularity because he's willing to stand up against a lot of these bigger corporations, but also these bigger corporations naturally will understand that, hey, someone's threatening my power here. I better go over to the party that we're going to fortify in power. And I think we're in a position where Mark Zuckerberg has already donated hundreds of millions of dollars and has fortified the Democrats' future in this country for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 years. I don't see the Republicans winning because of how much they have invested in this larger game, which they have, swayed for their own personal benefit.
I think both these parties are complete trash. It's a bunch of people that are trying to get clout, and it's a popularity contest. They get bribes from lawyers to pass certain laws. It's disgusting. The whole process is absolutely disgusting, and it's destined for destruction.
Ian, you rolled a 100 on the 100-sided dice.
Thanks. I wish it was more positive 100. It was definitely 100 in a negative vein. But this is part of why I do not support what Kanye said, the way he said stuff, but I support a fresh energy in politics. Even if it means it's a risk of stepping, they know where you live now. You're in the White House. Like, that's a risk, but I can't stand by and watch it fall apart.
Jesse looked confused for a second. There's a meme. When you roll a 20 in Dungeons and Dragons, it means it's like a perfect success. And when you roll a 1, it means a perfect failure. So whenever Ian says something, people will rate him in the chat as either a 1 total failure or a 20 total success. But he has a 100-sided die over there. So when he said both parties are trash, I said, you rolled a 100. It's like, it could not be better.
I could not have been more lost. I'm glad you explained that to me. I wanted to roll a 100. I just didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, you'll roll many 100s.
I think you did several times. Yeah, but just chiming in with both parties being trash.
And I guess
I agree.
Absolutely. Saying both parties is a little mind controlling.
But you're also insulting trash, though.
Trash can be repurposed and turned into graphene.
I will say to what you just said, Ian, which I agree with. Both parties trash. You're ready for something new. That this is why I believe, just allow me to go here for a second, this is why I believe we're actually heading down a very, very dark path as a country, because this is not unique for America. We are a late stage republic. We've lasted about as long as a major empire generally lasts, and then things start to come apart as things get more and more corrupt and things start to fray a little bit. And then the people hunger for exactly what you just said, exactly what I agree with you on. I want something fresh. But something fresh is almost always something bad. It's almost always something bad that sounds good. They choose to go to the guy who will rise up and say, I will change. I will punish these bad people. I will do this for you. And that's how nations have consistently, time and time again, ended up with some kind of horrific dictator. Because the people who are in charge suck. And I'll eventually get to the point where I'm so sick of them, I'll pick anybody who's going to go beat up these people. And that's where I think we're going, sadly.
Yeah. Dorsey's involvement here is also interesting because, as Matt Taibbi points out, he didn't know that a lot of this was happening. I mean, some people are questioning that, like, is that really possible here? But the last kind of statement by Matt Taibbi right now says that, quote, there are multiple instances in the files of Dorsey intervening to question suspensions and other moderation actions for accounts across the political spectrum. Now, if he was, questioning and intervening and trying to stop some of this, which it looks like he was absolutely unsuccessful in doing so. So was Vijaya Gotti calling the shots here? Was she really in charge here? And was Dorsey just a representative figure that couldn't do anything and just sit on his hands? I think it's worth asking after looking at these kind of documents. What do you guys think? Tim, you talked to these people. Was Vijaya more in charge of Jack, or is Jack more capable here?
So a lot of people had said that she was the one who was actually in charge. Jack Dorsey was just a figurehead. He had left the company. I think, I don't know the exact time frame, but didn't they bring him back after like Dick Costolo or whatever?
Yeah, they brought him back to be CEO for the second time.
But he wasn't really the CEO, as a lot of people said. I don't think he was either. I think he was a figurehead. It's like, he's the founder. We need confidence in the company, so bring him back. He had very little stake in the company at that point. He had very little control over it. And he would say all of these beautiful things that never happened.
It's kind of like what Apple did with Steve Jobs. He left. They realized, we're failing now. We need the vision again, bring back the visionary. But, at some point, it's the owners that run the network. And I think the owners vested a lot of faith in Vijaya and basically gave her carte blanche to make decisions. And if she violated their wants, then they would have let her know.
I kind of disagree with that a little bit, because I don't think they ever worry about owning, and I don't think they ever worry about popularity. The communists have done this very, very well for a very long time. Yeah. They worry about, I brought it up a little bit earlier, they worry about the choke points. Just go find and control the choke points, and then you control the company. I really need to not say her name, and I'm going to screw that up and say something I don't want to say. The Gotti chick. She's not a majority opinion. Like I brought up at the beginning, I was surprised by the amount of pushback there was within Twitter. Hey, do we even have justification for this? Well, she didn't care. She was in the one spot where she could be. She found the one spot in the company she could get to where she could make sure that she could play God, and she got there and she played God. They do this all the time in endless walks of life, way beyond Twitter. They do it. An example, you hear people complain all the time now about there'll be some small red town in Oklahoma somewhere, some small 5,000 person town in Oklahoma, they're having a child drag show, and people are freaking out. How's this happen? It's a 98% Republican town. Well, how it happens, if you ever dig into it, and I've dug into these things before, it's never the majority of the town. They don't need the majority of the town. What they needed was one guy at the city parks department who sought out that position for that specific goal. He found the choke point, and then he pushed it. That's how these things happen. The truth is, the commies have always been better at government than anyone on the right. Libertarians, conservative, nationalists, whatever you want to call yourself, because they live and die for it. It's their profession. It's their religion. So you've never been to a city council meeting. Most people watching, even Timcast, as big as this show is, 1% of this audience has ever been to a city council meeting. Yeah. They never miss a city council.
The state is their religion, and they love telling people what to do.
Of course.
I will say that of our audience and guests, we get some credit, because Alex Stein has certainly been to many meetings. He was here yesterday. He does a good job. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.